My name is Brantley Underhill. I'm Director of Practitioner Markets at the Project Management Institute, and I have a guest with me today, Dr. Etienne Wenger. Hi, Dr. Wenger.
Hello.
We're talking about PMI's communities of practice. Dr. Wenger is an expert in the field of communities of practice, maybe even the father of communities of practice in some circles. And so one of the philosophies we're talking around communities of practice today is what its definition is. In an earlier segment, we talked a little bit about belonging and identity. Mm-hmm. How critical are these two factors in establishing a community of practice?
Well, we talked about this notion of a learning partnership established among the members. Mm-hmm. That creates a sense of belonging. That creates a sense of like, okay, we are in the same boat together, mm-hmm. and therefore there's a sense of identity that we share. Now that identity may, in some case, be expressed as something specific, like I'm a project manager in the healthcare industry or something like this, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's a very explicit identity that exists in the world. Sometimes it's an identity that's just created by the fact that we are helping each other solve some problem. Mm-hmm. And then over time, we form an identity as a partnership among the participants. Mm-hmm. The reason why this is important is because if you think of project managers as professionals, I think an important function of something like the Project Management Institute is to think, okay, how can we serve the identity of a professional? And the identity of a professional is not simply that I pay my dues to an association. The real identity as a professional is that I have a diversity of learning needs, mm-hmm. and that these learning needs need places of engagement. So if you think of the communities that you are developing here as a system of different ways that people can connect their identity as a professional product manager with other aspects of the field. Mm-hmm. And it could be sometimes, if you have a very risky project, you're going to need to engage with a community that's focused on risk. Mm-hmm. But if you are, I don't know, a project manager in the healthcare industry, that's going to be maybe a long-term connection that you have with other people who are also in that same industry. Or if you are a woman project manager, then again, that can be a long-term relationship that you have. Or sometimes you have a very quick problem, like how do I use this software? Where is this feature? So you have a quick connection with a community. You don't really belong to it. You have a way to connect with it just for something that you need at that time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be interesting for PMI to start thinking about what is the set of useful communities that we can offer as a whole system so that people can feel that it serves their full identity as a professional.
Right, and if you had to give a member, one of our PMI members, some advice about communities of practice, what top 3 things could they do to get the most value out of participating in a community of practice?
Well, the first and foremost thing is bring your challenges, bring your questions. Take your experience of practice as a learning challenge and engage that learning edge of yours with those peers who also are facing similar challenges. Mm-hmm. So the first and foremost thing is bring your questions, bring your challenges, because that's going to energize the community and it's going to enable these learning partnerships to become anchored in practice. The flip side of that is that if somebody comes with a question, then suggest what you've tried, suggest what works, what doesn't, from your experience. So there's a sense of give and take that is really at the core of these communities. And other things that you can do is to suggest an issue, like, for instance, there is this new piece of research. There's this new book that just came out. Why don't we read it together and help each other make sense of what that thing means for us. Or if you have a goodie like, oh, I've just discovered this website. Hey, just give the URL to your community. And so there's a sense of mutual benefit by pooling both our challenges and the resources that we find. So it's really an engagement, a very practical engagement in that learning partnership that ends up benefiting you. And I think that's because, what's interesting in a community is that the difference between generosity and selfishness is not so clear. You see what I mean? Because you serve the community, you help others, you gain a reputation as someone who knows a lot. So it's both generosity and selfishness kind of woven together.
And it all begins with that learning partnership.
It begins with a learning partnership. It begins with that need of practitioners to improve their ability to face their challenges and to discover that if they do that collectively, it's easier than if you do it all on your own.